Awesome.
Welcome to another conversation here with my friend, Tanie Guy. Tanie has been a member of our Fully Funded Academy for quite some time and just such a wealth of information when it comes to helping missionaries really live a healthy life on the mission field. And so, Tanie, you have, you worked in the marketplace for decades,
Yeah.
decades and really had a shift from the marketplace, being working in IT and then shifting over to overseeing and running a ministry, Forget Me Not Ministries, and then being a full-time missionary yourself alongside your wife. And so would love
hmm
for you to fill in the gaps on the story and share a little bit more about you, where you're located, all those details and the kind of missionaries that you do work with today.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mary, for the opportunity to share like this. I was in the IT world for decades, like you said. Yes, I'm old. And I
Wise.
didn't
You are
become a missionary.
wise.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not the typical missionary in that we didn't go full-time ministry and missions work until I was in my 40s. Um, and how we got there, long story short, we've always done missions work, especially supporting, and we were always a safe place for missionaries when they came off the field. We would host them and have dinner and talk, and they would always end up sharing things that they were afraid to share elsewhere because they're just that safe. They felt safe. Um, and so going through that, I just felt a change coming up. The Lord was saying, "Hey, there's going to be a change." And so, um, my wife Jacqueline and I we went off for our 15th wedding anniversary. Said, "Okay, Lord, what do you want?"
Yeah.
You know, and and I always caveat that: be careful what you ask.
For sure. Especially when it comes to the man
Yeah,
upstairs, right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, in the week we were gone a week up in Bar Harbor, Maine, just retreating for our anniversary, and God, I mean, literally just downloaded the whole what He wanted from us. Uh,
So you guys actually started Forget Me Not Ministries.
yes,
And how long ago was that?
um, almost 22 years.
Okay, okay, okay. So right now you're almost, yeah, you spent 25 years in IT marketplace and now nearly that amount of time
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
that's
missionary space. So
yeah.
that's
I mean, we've only been full time about 16 years,
okay.
but
That's awesome.
we did it part time for a while because you know, being called out of the workplace into missions work, that's a big switch.
For sure. Well, and
So,
I think that so many people can relate to that, that it's like really, you got the call, you knew that it was something that you were meant to do, but then it's like,
mhm,
yeah, making
mhm.
that transition and being bivocational for a season and then
Yeah,
really
yeah,
making that transition over to full-time ministry. So that's exciting.
yeah. That window, yeah, we felt we're going to do this. We got to get educated.
Yeah.
We needed to, like I said before, we would support missions and things, but we had actually never really been on the field. And so we're like, oh, we got to start doing some of this short term wise. So, I say short term. Our first trip was 3 months long with 30 teenagers. So,
Oh my goodness. That just threw you in the deep end.
yeah, it was baptism by fire there.
That's right.
Just go.
That's right. Well, one of the things that I really love about your story is that you and your wife and your team, you're really
hmm
missionaries to missionaries. And
hmm
which is very unique for your position because I mean, quite a few missionaries are on the field really trying to, well, obviously there's a wide variety of positions inside a mission, so I
Yeah.
shouldn't say that, but lots of different roles. But the great thing is that you guys really, like you said, those missionaries felt so comfortable with you and your wife and being able to
hmm
share
hmm
things that were really maybe uncomfortable to share with just anybody. And so one of the
hmm
things that
hmm
you talk about is that you provide, help and healing to
hmm
missionaries. And
hmm
so how are you guys providing that service? Like, what are you guys actually doing on the mission field for those missionaries?
Okay. Yeah. it's kind of multifaceted. Excuse me. Um, the vision that the Lord downloaded to us was to have uh, we call it a respite, a place where missionaries can come and retreat to. They're out on the spiritual front lines. You're beat up, you're discouraged, you're weary. Sometimes you don't know, am I really still called to do this? Those type of questions that are constantly going through your head, especially during the difficult times. Um, so Lord really gave us a vision of having respite, a place that they, especially if they're on furlough, as you know, furlough doesn't mean they get the rest. They're out,
Right.
sharing their story, fundraising, doing this, meeting everybody. But they really do need a time to step away and reconnect with the Lord, reconnect with their own body sometimes, get that rest they need. So that's part of the vision. Right now, we use our home. We don't have the respite. Um, Lord willing, it will come soon. But
Yeah, and that's
it's
definitely something we've been talking about because it's
yeah,
back to
exactly.
raising some money, right? but
Yeah.
but yeah, but being able to open up your home obviously is a huge part of your ministry, and I know that there are
Hmm.
many
Hmm.
missionaries out there who do, hospitality is their gift, and and they're, hey, come spend time with us, get
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
and so that's obviously the first place to start is with your home, which is
Right. So
incredible.
we do that, but what makes us a little unique is we also go out on the field. We go to them right where they're at.
Mhm. And you
Um,
actually just got back from a huge trip
I did.
overseas, so the little tickle in
Yes,
his throat is after weeks of
exactly. It's
travel. No, 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 you sound great. But I mean, but yeah, you guys really spend those extended periods of time. And so what do you do when you actually go out and spend time with them?
well, we come alongside. Oftentimes, we mix things. We'll be invited to, I don't uh, teach some seminars or speak at a church or um, those type of things, or a particular issue going on that they ask us to come in and speak on to the missionaries and often pastors. We include that in the missionaries. A lot of them are out there planting churches and
For sure.
um, but as part of that is we start developing relationship with the different missionaries, with the different pastors. And as we get to know them, as usual, they start opening up. They have, questions. They're struggling with things. And so what we do is we just spend time with them, building that relationship, becoming a safe place for them to share,
Yeah.
becoming friends. Um, I can't tell you how many spiritual daughters and sons we have around the world that call us when there's
Yeah.
issues
You
and
know,
things.
I just want to touch on this real quick is that how powerful it is to have somebody who is a confidant, somebody who is a coach, somebody who
Mhm,
is a
mhm.
mentor, to really just share what's going on. And I don't know if there's any information behind that, what it is about just verbalizing what's going on and having somebody. But you and I both know the power of that. And
It's
have you
it's
just
huge.
seen, I was going to say, the transformation of people who are kind of, secluded and, kind of in their own little, in their head, in their bubble, and then having the chance to
Yeah.
talk with you? What transformation do you often see?
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, we tend to put missionaries and pastors and Christian leaders up on pedestals. They have no issues. They're so connected with God that everything is, you know, hunky dory, rainbows and whatever. Um, but they have real life issues. It's a real world out there. And sometimes all they need is a place where they can vent.
Yeah.
They vent, few comments, we pray with them, we touch base with them. I can't tell you how many people were ready to walk away that have a vent session or just an honest conversation with their struggles and being able to pray and having follow up, whatever that may be, that they're still out on the field serving where they're called. Um, but it's that simple.
Yeah.
That it really is.
And I think that so many people who are outside of the ministry who don't really understand how isolating it is to be in leadership, to be a pastor, to
Mhm.
be a missionary, and to be seen as, oh, like you said, like you guys are sent from above, and like that you've been ordained for this calling in life, and
Yeah.
and you should have everything figured out, and your family should be perfect, and your spiritual life should be on fire, and yet in the end, we're all human, and we're
Yes.
all navigating the same world. And these guys, of course, are working in some of the darkest corners of the world, so it's
Mhm.
not even a traditional American environment necessarily, and being a part of that. So what does, when you do see somebody who is healthy, a healthy missionary, what sorts of things do you see in their, maybe in their spiritual life, their emotional life, their their physical life? What are you
Mhm.
seeing that
Mhm.
actually is working, that you'd love to see across the board?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, one of the biggest things, deficits that we see of those serving out on the front lines is they don't take the time to stay connected with the one that sent them. They serve, they give, they give, they give, they give, but they don't stop long enough to read his word, seek the Lord out on different things, share honestly with the Lord what they're struggling with. They just kind of gloss that over
Mm,
and push it down until it finally erupts.
yeah.
Um, that is a huge issue out there. I don't care if you're a pastor, senior pastor, bishop, missionary, newbie out on the, they all struggle with the same thing. It's because they have a servant's heart.
Right.
So they want to serve, serve, serve. So that's what they do 24/7 oftentimes, but they forget to reconnect with the one that sent them. And then the other big issue is they don't take time away from themselves to re-energize, recharge, and retool their own lives to get restored. Those are the two big issues I see out there.
It's good. And I think that we do forget how important rest is. That
Mhm.
taking that time to pause. And I know we, as Christians, of course, we encourage, have your quiet time in the morning, pray and do the ritual of, in the morning, of course. But we forget that it's like, this is a constant, of all day, every
Mhm.
day. And they're not just clocking in 9 to 5, like they are in it
Yeah.
all, all day, every day,
Yeah.
24/7. And so to,
Yep.
like, they don't get to go home at 5 o'clock at night and put their feet up and watch Netflix, like that's
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
typically the story, And so I think that that's so important what you just shared. And one thing that really hit home for me in the last year, especially with the pandemic and everything that's happened,
Mhm.
is a reminder that we are not human doings, we are human beings. And,
Mhm.
and it is so easy to want to do, and just, like, make sure that you're checking things off the list and you're doing
Yeah. Yeah.
everything to, be that good Christian, or to do the work that God's called you to do. But in the end, it's really crazy when you do read scripture about how it's like, gosh, he loves you. Like, he loves you no matter how much you do. Like, he just loves you for being you, and just
Exactly.
being, obviously, just loving him, and there's so
Yeah.
much to
But
that, but that's, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point, especially last year with this whole COVID stuff and the country shutting down. And, we have missionaries around the world in countries that, A, they can't leave, and B, no one can get to them.
Yeah.
And then also because the country itself is closed down, they're isolated. And so they're like, okay, we're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. We can't do that.
Yeah.
What do we do now? They're really struggling with, I'm out here on the field. People are supporting me financially through prayer, etc. And I'm sitting here and I can't do what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, it's a, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people I've talked to, how many out there on the field that I've talked to is just like they're at a loss.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Those,
and And then also the ones that are underfunded are like, how do I actually have these
Mhm.
conversations with
Even
people? How do I do one-on-one meetings when I can't physically be in front of them? And so, as you've been working with them through that, what advice have you given them? What have you encouraged them to do during this season?
well, you touched on one. Um, yeah, I didn't share this earlier, but a lot of the missionaries are underfunded, like you said. As soon as they get remotely close to barely surviving, they're off to the races out on the field. That's a no. You
That's
need
why
the,
we're here.
you know,
That's why we're here.
exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I joined the Fully Funded Academy, because I see it so much. So what I've encouraged them to do is contact those that are supporting you. Those that are supporting you, put them to work for you. Right? They're the ones, they have access to people, in their home countries, that not necessarily the US, because we deal with multicultural missionaries and pastors, but put them to work. Share, hey, this is where we're at. This is not looking good.
Yeah.
Can you help us? We'll do Zoom calls. It works great. I mean, it's not ideal, but it works great. Um, and then the other thing is okay, so you can't do, I'll give an example, real life example. I work with missionaries in the southwestern part of Ukraine, and the bulk of their ministry is working with orphans, mostly social orphans, and abandoned babies, because they have some sort of defect, deformity. When they closed down the orphanages and kicked out basically all the social orphans, sent all the workers home, closed down the hospitals, no one could go visit the kids and encourage and be with them. Um, their work was non-existent.
Yeah.
So they're asking, okay, what do we do? What do we do? So it's like, okay, what region were you working in? What's going on in the village around? And so what they've did is they retooled it. They're still reaching the same people, but instead of going into the orphanages, they're buying food and bringing it in to the people that don't have food.
Hmm.
This started, over the winter. It's not like you can grow crops, which they do in Ukraine,
Yeah.
but in the dead of winter, you're not growing anything, and they have no food because they can't work because everything's shut down.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they went out and bought a bunch of food, raised money for that, and then
Yeah.
started delivering it to the village.
I think
And I
that
can't
that's
tell you
that's
how much has,
Yeah, like I think that that's where people miss out on the vision of your cause, the vision of why you went there in the first place, is that
yeah,
that should never stop, no matter whether we're in lockdown, whether you're in one country or another. It's like the vision should
yeah,
remain true to what you're trying to do. And
yeah.
so,
Amen.
case in point, it's like this, why are you here? And go back to the vision of what brought you to that land in the first place and figure
Yeah.
out a way, get creative.
Figure out
So
something.
you
Yeah.
did.
You
That's
know, and
awesome. Yeah.
and then as things are opening up, that yes, they're going back to the orphans and the hospitals, but yet they've really expanded their own ministry because they're still having an influence in those villages and with the mayors and the leaders. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I know this
Yeah.
is not the purpose, but in that one village, the mayor, who was an atheist, is now a believer,
Wow.
and she's encouraging others to come in and join.
Wow. That's awesome.
I
And
mean,
when would that
because they're
have
delivering
happened?
food. I mean, so
So
yeah,
good.
you know, yeah, sometimes your vision or the vision that the Lord gives you morphs a little bit, depending on the circumstances and what's going on, but it doesn't mean you don't do anything.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think that that's where, yeah, people having to take a step back. And this was everybody, right? Like every
Mhm.
business, every industry had to do this, where it was like, okay, go back to square one. Let's just, we're in a new era. We're in a new time, and
Yeah.
we've got to start fresh here. And so, really good. So just as we continue this conversation, I'm just curious, if someone's just getting started in full-time missions, what do they need to know that would set them up for success on the mission field? Like what would help them? Because I'm like, I know that you probably catch them after they've already not raised their money and they're stressed, and there's all these things that happen
Yep.
more. So
Yep.
let's just imagine that you got them before all of the stress, before all the drama, and you could get them from the front end. What advice would you
Yeah.
give to them?
I mean, the obvious one is, equip. They have to equip themselves depending on what their calling is, you know. So go get training, go get educated, um, those are the basic foundational pieces that you need
Yeah.
to do what the Lord is calling you to do. Um, but the part that they forget is, or don't pay a lot of attention to culturally, what's the difference
Yeah.
from what you understand and where you're going? It's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
Not, we say different, not wrong, different.
Mm-hmm.
And just have a different way of thinking and going about things. So understand the culture that you're going into. That's vital part of going out in the field. And then I mentioned earlier the fundraising aspect. The temptation, and I'm guilty of it as well, is as soon as you have the bare minimum, you go. I can't tell you, telling on myself, I raised money for airfare for my wife and I, bought the tickets, and we were gone for 3 weeks, and I had $50 in my pocket in a different country. I mean, the Lord provided, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
that is not a good situation to be.
There are so many people that do step out like that because they, they're
Yeah.
like, I'm following scripture. It says to do this, and so I'm like, yes, but then there's also that like side of things where it's like, okay, put some stuff in the storehouse as well and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
make
Well,
sure you have enough.
right. And make sure you have enough. I mean, yes, there are some that are called to 100% faith based,
Yeah.
and been there with those people and agree. They're called. I had enough to get here. I mean, God's providing. I mean, literally, they pray for lunch, they pray for dinner, they pray for roof on their head, and God always provides.
Wow.
And so, but not everybody's called to do that.
No. And it's
That
also a very stressful way to do ministry. And you know that. I mean,
it is
instead of being able to just fully 100% show up and serve and pray and do what you're meant to be there to do,
meant to do. Yeah.
there's always in the back of your mind, are we going to have enough for the next thing? And so that adds a
Yeah.
whole nother element of stress that I would have,
Whole different layer.
yes, both of us,
And
want to see every missionary have, the freedom to not have to
yeah,
worry about where the next dollar is going to come
exactly.
from,
Yeah.
just because they
Um,
prepared.
right. So, I mean, that's a vital key. And then the other thing is, you need a home team. You need a home team. Yeah. Yeah. I think of, Jesus's ministries. He had 3 that he called there with the inner circle. Get your inner circle. The 12, they were your ambassadors or whatever. You need to have that home. I call it the home team.
Yeah. Oh,
That
it's so good.
when everything goes out the window and you don't know anything, what's going up or down or whatever, that you can just pick up the phone, vent, be honest, be real,
Yeah.
listen, pray with you, give feedback if it's necessary, or sometimes it's just you needed the vet and you're good to go.
Well, I was just having a conversation with one of our students who, I mean, they were shutting down the borders. Like
Mhm.
they were in, internal conflict, war, like war torn area in areas that you work
Yeah.
in as well. And I mean, and I just was on Facebook Messenger with her, and I mean, she was at her wits end. I mean, it was like she was so scared and so overwhelmed with what was going on, didn't know how to communicate with her donors about really what was happening. And in the moment, she's like, I don't know where my next meal's coming from. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. And then I said to her, I messaged her and I was like, do you have, well, I obviously was like, hey, can you talk? Did not realize it was the middle
Yeah.
of the night. Did
Yeah.
not realize it, but it was when I picked up the phone because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you need somebody to have a
Hmm.
conversation with on
Hmm.
this. But we started talking about it, and she said she started telling me she had no home, really no home base, no sending organization. Luckily just the powers that be knew where she was, the consulate, like they knew
Hmm.
like how to get her out if she needed to. But I was like, that is scary. Like I just was like, that is, I mean, I'm not even in her shoes, and I'm just like, just that's why I really want to highlight what you just said, because the financial side, the home base, like you've got to have
Hmm.
the layer upon layer of support so that if one thing goes down, you've got more layers to go. You've
You get
got
more,
a backup
exactly.
plan to
Yep,
help you.
exactly.
And obviously, like you said, God does provide, and it's not about, trying to undermine what he's trying to do, but it's just being wise and making the right steps.
Being
So,
wise, and we serve a God of order,
yeah,
you know. So put things in order. Yeah. Yeah. If it changes, it changes. I mean,
sure,
trust me, I know being out on the field, 95% of what you plan is going to change
for sure.
because of whatever, it's just, but you need to have that foundation that you can go back to,
Okay. So
to stand on.
if somebody's watching or listening and they hear it and they're like, I am overwhelmed, I am stressed, I was that person that made those decisions, and I don't have the support system, and I am financially struggling. What advice or what would you recommend that they do to just start taking action towards a change to turn their story around?
Turn, yeah. Um, well, obviously one is to step back and reconnect with the Lord. I mean, that's like
Good.
a note. It sounds real easy, but it's like
No,
usually the last thing you think of to do, because, we have to control the situation, or we have to, but
yeah,
sometimes you need just stop and reconnect. Okay, Lord, touch base. What's going on here? What are you trying to tell me? And then once you've done that, then obviously you need to reach out to either a mentor or a coach or some of your home team that you have set aside, depending on the situation. You may need to, like your friend that was in the war torn area, then
yeah.
do I need to get out of here? Can you help me get out of here? Or is it just more of the moral encouragement and support, that type of thing? Um, so, I mean, those are real easy.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Also,
yeah, I think what I'm
depending on the situation,
yeah.
sometimes it may need to be more of a professional help, professional counselor. Um, doesn't mean you have to leave the field because you're getting professional help. Um, and I know that's one of the scary things that are people out there that are serving is like, I can't have these issues because a sending church or the sending organization is going to yank me off the field because I'm having real life issues here, which sometimes, yes, that's necessary. But I would say 80% of the time, no, all they need is just a little bit of help, a little bit of, counseling or interaction with people that have been through the same situation, and they're good to go. They can keep going and keep serving. Because what people don't realize is you get yanked off the field, now you're doubly lost, right?
So
I
that's not a
can't serve
win.
in what God's called me to do
Yeah.
because my sending organization doesn't trust me anymore, so they yank me off the field. And
Yeah.
and those that return home, the vast majority never go back.
And I can just see this cycle, right? Like it's like, and then you don't feel like you're authentically being who God called you to be because you're hiding
Yep.
stuff because you can't tell you're sending or, and so it's like, and this is why Tanie, you and your wife and your team is so critical to be doing the work that
Hmm.
you're doing because you are a safe place. You are a
Hmm.
respite, even if it's a conversation for people to have with someone. And so that's why I want to make sure before we wrap up, I'll make sure you guys have contact information for Tanie and for Forget Me Not Ministries. But one of the things that I hear you saying is that you really do have to just take a pause and just
Hmm.
really reset and identify the fact that it's like you can't keep doing the same thing over. I feel like that's where some people get in this cycle where they're just like, it is what it is. This is just what, God's called me to do. It's my cross to bear. And it's like, no, like if you hear anything from Tanie and I, is that change is possible. And you
Change is
can
possible.
take steps towards a
Yes.
healthy missionary lifestyle.
Hmm.
Whether that's, like we said, a pastor, or bishop, whatever your position is, that it's like you can serve in a really healthy place in leadership. It's just you got to take some time, reconnect with the Lord, reconnect in prayer, start talking through what it is that you want, have conversations with people. I hear that it's like, and here's the
Yeah.
thing, even if you don't have a great connection back home, whatever that looks like, if you're like, hey, I don't really have a team, you have friends. Like
Yes.
you
Exactly.
you have people in leadership. So I want to highlight, like, Tanie and people just like you are sitting there waiting to receive those calls. You are ready
Hmm.
to receive those conversations, and you're equipped and you're prepared for them. And so, Tanie, if somebody is in this position, because I don't want anybody to, listen to this and feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like at the bottom. Like I need something. And so I want to make sure that they have connection with you. But I also want you guys to know that one of the things that Tanie does is really helps people to financially get fully funded so that they can be well equipped on the field. And so part of that is, that one-on-one coaching and being able to have those conversations about your finances. So Tanie, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you to have that conversation, or to just maybe send out an email, an SOS, please help?
Yeah. Uh, well, I have a page under the Fully Funded Academy.
Yeah. So that's
Um,
just fullyfundedacademy.com/Tanie Guy. So you guys
yep.
can catch that.
And so that's one way to do it. Also, you can just email me directly, Tanie at forgetmenotministries.org.
Okay. And it's
I'll be more than happy.
TANIE, right?
IE.
Yes.
Yep.
TANIE
Um,
at Forget Me
just
Not
email me,
Ministries.
and
Hmm.
either myself or my wife or both of us will be in touch.
Okay.
And we're here to help. We're here to serve and keep you guys going strong out there, and whatever that looks like. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
we're here for you.
Because your ministry is so needed. I know that you share a statistic on your website about 5,000 people leaving the mission field. For whatever many of the
Yep.
reasons that we've discussed today. And that's the thing. Like, I continue to look at statistics about the areas that have not heard the gospel, or
Hmm.
regions that
Hmm.
are just, I mean, our ministry leaders are so needed on the mission field. And so I don't know about you, but it just breaks my heart to think of somebody leaving. And obviously you do this. So I would assume that that's how you got into this in the first place. Is that it's like,
Yep.
the thought of somebody leaving their post, leaving their, the place that God told them to stake that, put that flag in the ground, and for them to have to pick that flag up and leave, and, like you said, potentially never come back.
Coming back. And sadly, the vast majority of it, they're leaving for preventable reasons. Not,
Yeah.
not because of a huge, either moral failure or anything like that. They're leaving for things that can be dealt with and can be addressed while they're still on the field, or even maybe before they're out, go out. It's exposed and can be dealt with. That's the sad part. That 5,000 missionaries that leave the field every year, those are just U.S. sent ones. And that statistic is old. I mean, I think it was done back in 99. And we talked to the folks that did at the Narrow Moor Foundation, um, asking if they were going to update that. And they said they started, but they found it was far worse. So they stopped.
Oh, goodness. Which is all the
So,
more why we have to keep doing the work that we do. Because, yeah, I mean, to
amen.
think that
Yeah.
more than five, and who knows? Yeah, it could be tens of thousands. We don't know.
We
But the
don't know.
thought, I
Yeah.
mean, the last statistic that I ran was 1.7 million missionaries are out on the mission field. Like that's roughly how many people are needed to do the work. And so I'm like, uh, if we're dwindling 5,000, 5,000,
Yeah.
5,000, like, and not replenishing with new, so
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. So just before we wrap up, I just want to give you an opportunity to, give some parting advice or guidance or encouragement, for somebody who's, maybe in that position, or somebody who's like, hey, I was there and I've gotten out, and, I just am really excited about what's to come. But whatever advice you want to share before we wrap.
Oh, put me on the spot here, Mary.
Yes. Look at that heart. What's God telling you?
I guess the thing that popped in my head is no matter what situation that you're in, be it you're out in the field struggling, things are not going according to plans or how you feel, or you've already left the field and have no plans to go back because of either you're wounded or just done, burn out. Um, the word of encouragement is God is still there with you. He still loves you. He still uh, is behind you. Just turn to him. He will heal those places. He will restore you. And who knows, if you've left the field, he may send you back out. I've seen that happen.
And
So just don't be discouraged and don't be bitter, but just seek the Lord on that. Talk to those that you trust to speak into your life. And you will be restored one way or the other. Maybe a new calling, a new projects, new task, or he may call you back to what originally called to. Don't give up.
I second that. So good. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who are just, there's trauma, there's hurt, there's
Mhm.
pain,
Mhm.
and to know that that season may be over and it's time to start new. So
Yep.
what are you going to do to leave the past in the past and move forward? So
Move
I
right in.
absolutely
Yep.
love that. And if you guys want to reach out to Tanie, his email again, Tanie, Tanie at forgetmenotministries.com.org.
Org.
Dot
Org.
org. Okay, dot org. And we'll make sure that you guys have the link to his direct site on fullyfundedacademy.com as well. So if you want to reach out to him for coaching, whether it's on this topic that we talked about today here, or, obviously a variety of different topics, but
Yep. Yep.
on your financial support, or just making sure that you can take that next step to stay on the mission field and move forward. So thank you, Tanie. I just appreciate you so much. And I'm so thankful that the Lord brought us on each other's path as we continue to
Yes.
serve
Amen. Yeah.
such a great community. And thanks, guys, for listening into today's conversation. And we'll be back with more. So we'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Danny.